Next question goes to Dr. Paul. What information should be shared between the City Council and a new company taking over Petoskey Point, since that's what we've been talking about so much this morning? And what can be done to ensure that the current or future developers of Petoskey Point will meet their obligations when it is a private operation and it really has little city involvement other than a contract for the parking garage? So what can be done and what should be shared with a new company?
I'm not totally clear on the question, but let me answer it as best I can. One thing I do have to comment on is that there's little city involvement in the project. The current mayor was presented in 2006 with the cost the city's expended so far in this development, just in exploring it, and that cost is $100,000. So the city has involvement in this project hugely. As we know, there's nearly $1 million worth of city land that's involved in the project. This is decidedly not a private venture. It is a joint venture between the city, to a degree, and the developer. What should be shared with the council in a new developer or a new plan? I think, as I said earlier, the first thing is the group needs to come to City Council and tell us what they're doing. Getting reports from letters from attorneys, having the city manager say what he thinks the developers want to do is just not adequate for me. When these people wanted to start this project, they came to City Council, they came to the Planning Commission, and they pled their case. Now, if they want to change something, if they have a new plan, let's hear it. Let's talk about it. I think we should talk about just about everything about it. In fact, one of the problems we had last time is we didn't talk about things enough, and that's very evident by the City Developer Agreement, which has a lot of problems. That City Developer Agreement was received by City Council on Christmas Eve in 2004 and voted on 3 days later, and they never reviewed it with an attorney to see what all the ramifications are. That's why there's a fence there that's not adequate. If you look at the provisions in that agreement, there's no adequate wording for a fence. There's multiple other questions with that agreement. I believe the other property owners on the block actually got paid when they turned over their property to the developers. Why did the city of Petoskey not get paid for its land? Instead, we have a credit if they build it, and if they don't build it, we have a problem. The problem is we have to try and get the money from developers who have failed.
Yeah.
Same question. Well, I've been involved with this project now for 3 years. The project did start before I became mayor, and certainly during Ted Paul's administration, they pushed through a referendum which delayed the construction of the project, which, from a timing standpoint, certainly was not beneficial given today's economic climate as far as a timing standpoint to get the project going. Now, the city of Petoskey does not really have any money in this project, as Dr. Paul would like you to believe. I think he just quoted $100,000. I do have the report here in my hand, and I knew this was probably going to come up, but stating that basically the numbers he referred to, and as you go down the list, specifically there's $88,000 for Hyatt Palma, which was a consulting fee that we used. That was a group that used to promote or develop our master plan for our downtown. There's another bill in here for $29,500 to Miller Canfield, which I have all the documentation on. Most of that had to do with the district library concept as well as the 425. So that $29,000, most of that, or a big chunk of that comes out. $9,300 referendum fees. These are numbers that are all in Ted Paul's $100,000. That $9,300 was for the referendum, which we were refunded. There's $27,000 in there for the Walker parking consultants. That was used for a study of the whole downtown. I mean, come on, Dr. Paul, you're using the same process that our national candidates are using. You're not giving us the facts. You're taking it and you're spinning something that's not truly there. Now, furthermore, as far as the $1 million in the land, that was an appraisal price that we had two appraisals for. We had $970 and $740. That land cost us $20,000, and we're going to turn it into $3.5 million in taxes every year once the development's done.
Rebuttal?
Oh, I have a few comments. I don't agree with the assessment on the $100,000. I have the Walker parking studies. I read them about 30 times each. They are specifically on this project. I'd let people know that other communities, specifically Charlevoix, kind of got onto this issue, and they said, you know, we're going to pass a law, and when developers come and want us to do multiple studies to research their project, we're going to make them pay for it. So that's what some other communities have done. There were real costs involved. It's interesting to talk about the delay on this project. The delay of the referendum was 4 months. There were a few other delays. The project was at City Council for 1 year, and 7 months of that, the city manager took it away to discuss with the developers what they really wanted to do. After the developers got the referendum and succeeded, they took them 17 months to acquire the remaining piece of land with Northwestern Bank, which was one of their partners in the development. I'd say that 17 months delay was a huge problem in moving forward.
Well, you know, you can't have it both ways, Dr. Paul. You stated earlier that we didn't have enough time to talk about things as far as this project, and then you just quoted some time frames that this was under consideration both at the parking or at the planning level, as well as the council level. So there certainly was plenty of time if people wanted to attend the meetings to go in, voice their concerns. We did develop, or there was a prototype building built. There was a computer-generated or animated movie of what this thing would look like. And furthermore, you know, the credit that Dr. Paul has referred to, the $970,000, was a negotiated number that was included in the original development agreement. And that's $970,000 was to be used towards the purchase of the parking deck, which I think in most cases people still have interest in keeping that parking deck in the public domain.